Hello, and welcome back for another episode of the Resting Stitch Face podcast. I'm your co-host, Dr. Sarah Harding, along with
Dr. Erin Sheffield. Welcome back. I feel like it has been such a long time since we've had an episode, just the two of us.
I know. It is funny. I do love having guests, but it is nice just to have the two of us and kind of catch up on other things.
Miss our little chats
So.
everyone gets to listen in on.
It's true.
So our last episode was featuring Dr. Natalie Crawford, and if you caught that episode, she is a reproductive endocrinologist, and we hit on so many amazing topics about women's health and fertility, visibility in social media, etc. But I feel like there were so many things we just did not have time to talk about.
Yeah.
And I know both of us have been through our own journeys. I'm a multi-IVF mama survivor. You donated eggs in your youth, so you kind of went through that. I think we both had kind of our episodes of infertility. And so I thought there's so much more we could talk about here. So
Yeah.
what do you think? What resonated? What did that conversation kind of bring up for you?
Well, I just thought it was interesting because it really made me flash back to like a different time of my life, And so I was thinking about donating eggs when I was in dental school. And, the reason I did it was that I could pay for breast augmentation because
Is that why?
Because I always.
I'm like, she's so altruistic. I
I
can't
know.
believe she would go through that.
Yeah.
As
I mean, it was really
someone-
cool. Like, I really enjoyed it
You're
too.
such a
But
geek.
that was why I did it.
Say, at least for me, maybe it's different going through it for like this altruistic reason. You're getting paid. You're a poor dental student. It was like a whole different thing than going through it as an angsty,
Yes.
this is my last chance to become a mother situation. But
Right.
I feel like it would not be if someone offered me to pay for my boob job to do it. I would say absolutely not. But
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
it
love
wasn't
that.
all that.
Yeah.
It wasn't so easy either. You know what I mean?
No,
And so,
yeah. Especially
like,
during dental school. My goodness.
yeah. And I had to do all of the genetic counseling and like this huge family history and had to wait and see if somebody picked me,
Did anyone pick you?
Well, yeah, that's how
Did
I
they
got
tell
to.
you when?
Well, I didn't. That's when they did the harvest. Was somebody picked me, and so then we went and started to do the. Yeah.
So they don't just put you in like a catalog or a library and wait for someone to come by. Someone has to say, "We want Sarah."
Yeah, and I guess it's because it must have been really in the earlier stages. It was in 2008.
So interesting.
Yeah, and so I guess it was in the early stages. I didn't really get paid that much. Now, knowing what I know now about how much it costs to do IVF and stuff, I would have been like, hey. Yeah, but I think I harvested like 14 or 16 eggs, I think. Yeah,
Wow.
I know. And
Did
so
you just do one time then? Okay. And was it just one family that used your eggs,
think
or
so.
were they able to like hold on? And they probably just hold them in case they want more kids and they have more sibling of your babies.
Yeah, I guess so. So there's lots of little me's running around somewhere in Charleston, South
Oh my
Carolina,
goodness.
or somewhere.
That's something I think I have thought about because I feel like the IVF journey is so full of every possible. It's a mental journey. It's an emotional journey. It's definitely a physical journey. It's a spiritual journey. It's an ethical journey.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, if we have embryos left, what do we do with them? They
Right.
ask you this. And Abe was like, of course we donate them. And I was like, of course we don't donate them. Like we had both such different thought processes on
Right.
it. And he's like, well, we know how hard this is to go through. And so of course we would want like another family to be able to have success in their family. But my thought is, I feel like every time I'd walk around, if I saw anyone that looked kind of familiar, I'd be like, is that my baby? And I already
It's
had
kinda
these
funny 'cause
like
I'm
wake
like,
up. I wake up in the middle of the night like, I forgot something, or I
Yeah.
feel like I'd be having that too, like, is that my baby? So for me, that'd be a big anxiety thing.
Oh, that's funny. No, I never really like, I think it'd be
Thought
kinda
about it.
cool, but yeah, I think I signed something that said I didn't want,
Be contacted or
to
something.
be contacted or something, I don't
But
know.
what if someone does like a 23andMe in like 10 years and
That's
they
fine.
call you up?
That's fine, if
That's
they
so
want to. That's
interesting.
fine.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, but here's an interesting story that I heard from a friend a couple of weeks ago, and I had no idea about this. So speaking of donated embryos, so she got married at 40, 41, I think. and they decided that they wanna have kids and weren't able to, and because she was already in menopause. That's why. Hey.
Oh
Yep,
gosh.
she was already in menopause. So she had entered menopause at, I think, early, so I think 38, I think is what
Wow.
she said, and they decided that they wanted to have kids, and so their only option was IVF, and I never thought about this. I never thought that you could carry a child after menopause. But she said she just continued the hormone injections throughout the whole first trimester. And then after that, her body took over again. I just thought that was wild, but they used a donated embryo. Yeah, because they didn't have much other choice.
Yeah, what else can you do?
And so I just thought that was the coolest thing. I had no idea. So,
Well, you hear every once in a while, like 50, 60-year-old women having babies, and that's almost always IVF.
oh, I didn't realize that. I always
Even
thought they were
after
just like late in
40,
menopause, right?
I've heard, like, after 40, if it's your first baby, the odds go down significantly, um, which is too bad for us doctor ladies who have delayed.
I
So
know.
many of us. They say if you've had babies already, then you might have some ovarian reserve because the whole times you were pregnant, you weren't ovulating, so you have a little bit of extra. That's what I've heard. I'm not an expert, but
Yeah, interesting.
very interesting.
Yeah.
So, some of the things we've gone through, like the procedurally, let's
Mhm.
talk about that a little bit. I know you had to do the what do they call it? The
Like
HC
the egg retrieval? Oh, the HSG. Yeah, but I had to
HSG.
do so that with the egg retrieval, did you have I think that they just gave me propofol. I don't even know if I got anything else, but I remember that it was, like, kind of painful when I woke up, and then, like I said
Mhm.
to Natalie the other day, I had that ecchymosis in my
Yeah, yeah,
umbilicus
yeah.
afterwards, and it was, like, kinda uncomfortable, but nothing crazy, but then in residency, when I got the IUD, of course, I'd never had a kid before at that point, and I got it, no pain control, into this little tiny cervix that had never moved outside of 2 millimeters, or whatever, a millimeter maybe,
Yeah.
and I passed out. They left me in the procedure room,
Well,
and I went to get dressed to stand up, and I passed out because I was in so much pain,
okay,
I
this
guess.
is this is so crazy to me. I've had so many of these little procedures, these, like, gynecological OB procedures done without not just without pain control, but without any kind of discussion at
Right.
all about it. It's just like,
Yeah.
"Okay, we're gonna just do this thing,"
It'll be
and they
quick.
do it, and it's, like, horrific,
Mhm.
and I just think it's crazy. As a doctor, as a surgeon myself, I am just blown away because
Right.
I was thinking about, like, these little biopsies we do. There's just, like, a little gum bump. There's, like, a little mucocele or, like, a
Yeah,
fibroma, like, some
I would
scar
never
tissue.
not anesthetize it.
I could never imagine just being
Right.
like, it's gonna be uncomfortable for a minute, but it's so small, it's not worth it." Like, I can't believe that what they can get away with.
I know.
And why can't you just put a little numbing something up there or tell me to pre-med or to offer something? And some of these are like
Right.
pretty crazy difficult, like painful,
Yeah.
like I don't know. And this whole
Yeah.
idea that cervix doesn't have nerve endings, like,
It sure does.
oh my gosh. And someone talked about it on TikTok. This
Oh
man,
my
like
gosh.
anesthesiologist for like clickbait, started making videos. And I feel like it went so far that it's kind of changed things, thankfully. But
Yeah.
that's when I first started hearing it talked about. And now it's like, oh, maybe we should
Yeah.
consider offering or at least talking about it for your IUD. But I had IUD, it was terrible. It
Yeah.
was so uncomfortable, so painful. Even having a speculum, depending on the provider, can be very uncomfortable. And then I had a polyp on my cervix, and they're just like, we're just gonna get that off of there, like ripping off tissue
Oh god, and then it
without
bleeds like
without
sweet too.
anything.
Yeah.
Because don't worry, there's no nerve endings there. I promise I have nerve endings
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
And then rolling your eyes and acting like you're crazy
Mhm.
because you cried and complained like a dramatic, crazy
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah.
And the women OBs are doing it too because they learned that same
Right.
stuff, the same mentality gets pushed down. And I hate
Yeah.
that in women's health is still so patriarchal. Even women
Yeah.
helping women, it's so hard to undo that.
Right. Well, and then it's not like they had a whole bunch of lectures on where to give local anesthesia, right?
No,
Probably not.
yeah.
So,
I
you know?
had a bunch of granulation tissue on my vaginal canal after delivering the twins, and I kept bleeding, so they like, "We're just gonna cauterize it." So they're, like, cutting on me, burning on me,
Oh
shoving
god.
things up in me multiple times without any kind of warning, without any kind of
God.
counseling, without asking if it's okay. I just think it's crazy, and to me, it
Right.
shows we don't really value women in their healthcare journey. Tell us about having your HSG done. Tell us what that is and
So
how
before
that
I say
is.
that, that same IUD that I had placed originally, they cut the strings too short and it migrated up a little bit. And so the strings weren't, you couldn't grab the strings to take it out. And
No.
so it took 3 times for them to get it out. And the first time
Oh my
was
gosh.
in the clinic without anything.
Oh my gosh.
Um, the second time, because I was in tears, I couldn't do it. The second time, they're like, okay, we'll come back and we'll do it with local anesthesia. And so scheduled that, took off of work, all of the stuff, went, and the doctor wasn't there, and it was only a nurse practitioner, and nurse practitioners can't give local anesthesia or something. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna have it done without local anesthesia. We've already tried that. Like that, I'm not gonna do that again. And they're like, well, we'll just try once and then, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it again. That was just awful. And so then they found a doctor that was like on call or something and came up to do it, gave local anesthesia, was also like wicked painful local anesthesia. And I'm like in tears. They're in there like digging around. I can still feel everything, still can't get it out. So they have to schedule me in the operating room under general anesthesia to get this thing out.
I
Anyway,
mean, at
so
least you were
that's,
comfortable that time. My goodness.
yeah. And it took like, no time at all. Just doop, boop, because as soon as I was
Well, I'm
paralyzed, it was
sure.
fine. So,
Oh my
but anyway,
goodness.
and then Natalie said the other day that they hadn't been like when she first started in medicine, they weren't giving IUDs to women who hadn't had babies. And I feel like the only explanation for that, I wish I would have asked. The only explanation for that is that
They
because of pain
lost the
control.
site or something. Yeah. Interesting.
And so I don't, that would be my guess. But then, okay, so then the HSG. So after I had Shep, and so with Shep, I went in to have an ECV because he was breech. And so that's the flippy do where they try to flip them over
That
so
sounds
that they
great
become head
too.
down. And so I went in to have that done and I had an epidural because I'm not really interested in pain that much. So, and I watched a
We
couple of
say
videos
offered
and I
at
was
that
like,
time.
wow.
That sounds terrible. I can't imagine just like shoving the baby around. You're like, that feels
Yeah.
great. Keep.
The OB was on one side and there was a resident on the other side and they like pushed like this,
Oh my
on you.
gosh. Yeah.
And so I had an epidural, and thank God, because his heart rate dropped. I think he had a nuchal cord, so the cord was around his neck
Gosh.
when he spun, and his heart rate dropped, and so they had to do an emergency C-section. So
Oh boy.
there was that. And so I've had a lot of weird stuff with the scar from that too, but from the skin scar. And so when I was trying to get pregnant with Rivers, trying, not getting pregnant, they did all the semen analysis. They're like, well, let's do an HSG. I'm like, okay. And what they do is they insert a catheter into the cervix and they inject some radiographic dye, I guess, and then take an x-ray and to see the patency of the uterus and the fallopian tubes,
Mm.
or not patent, whatever. And they said, if you have a driver, we'll give you a prescription for Valium and you can take that, beforehand for anxiety. Right.
Not the pain,
And I'm
just the
like,
anxiety,
I
because
know.
you're
And I'm like,
crazy. If you're crazy and think it hurts, then
yeah,
we'll give you an anti-anxiety, not an
yeah,
anti-pain medication, but an
right.
anti-anxiety
Yeah. Cause
medication.
obviously it's your issue and you just need to chill.
Yeah.
My husband was shocking out of town. And so,
As he is.
as he always is. And so I didn't have a driver and I was like, but F that. I'm not, I'm not doing this thing again without anything. And so I took an ibuprofen and I took half of the Valium because I'm like, well, if nothing else, I'll have this. And I was like, you know what? If I can't drive myself home, I'll just sit there.
Right.
And so I get there and I'm sitting there for like an hour waiting, right? And so clearly it's worn off by now. And so then and I'm
Yay.
like, they finally call me back and it's like this rush, rush, rush. And they have this gal tells me what's gonna happen, sort of. And she puts in the catheter, and I think that what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to, like, slowly withdraw it. I don't know, but she withdrew
I
it
don't
too
know either.
quickly, and the dye didn't like, maybe a little bit got in, but most of it spilled out, and I felt it. I was like, "Oh, that feels really wet. That's weird." And because it had just, like, come out, and then she was like, "I'm very sorry.
No.
We're gonna have to do that again," and I'm already in tears. I mean, I'm doing all the things, I'm humming, because trying to just stimulate my parasympathetic nervous system. I'm doing all of the things, I'm doing nasal breathing, I'm humming, and I'm crying. There's tears are running down my face. And I'm like, "Okay, I guess we're gonna do this again." I'm already there. I'm like, "You've already done it. Like, I'm not gonna just go home and not get any answers." And so then they do it again and get this wonky picture, but it was awful.
I've
I
heard
mean, it
that it's
hurt so
awful.
bad, and I'd even had a child at that. Well, I guess I hadn't delivered vaginally, but still, like, I'd had a child at that point, but, I mean,
No,
it
it's
just hurt so
notoriously
bad.
uncomfortable, so it's crazy they don't encourage, "Please bring a person and here's some Valium," if that's gonna be the strategy. I think that's crazy. Well, it's
Yeah,
just for a little while. I don't know. I think that's crazy, and I think sometimes we don't believe patients, and when I had my twins, I was bleeding out quite a bit, and they're kinda worried about me, so they send me back to the labor and delivery floor instead of the mother-baby unit, and they're trying to get more IVs in and get me some fluids. And the nurse started putting one in my arm, and it was killing me. I was like, "It really hurts. I'm so sorry, but that really, really hurts.
yeah,
Please." And she's like, "They're supposed I mean, sometimes they can." I was like, "No, I am a doctor and I
right,
place IVs. Something is wrong, please." And she was, like,
yeah,
so annoyed with me,
yeah,
just like she finally moves it, and I was, like, totally fine, and then she was like, "Oh," like, she must have had it in a nerve or something. It was, like, stabbing, unrelenting pain. Like, an
yeah,
IV should not be like that.
no,
But it's like, so annoying, you know? It's I try to remember those moments. I mean, it's
yeah,
so educational being the patient yourself.
yes,
I try to remember those. What does this feel like? How scary and unusual is this? How long does it take me to actually fall asleep? All of these things are being, like, logged into the back of my brain,
yeah,
trying to help patients have better experiences. And it's so easy to just disbelieve the patient or, "Oh, they're being really dramatic," but sometimes something is really wrong and you
right,
need to listen. And
yeah,
sometimes it's as simple as an IV, but it was
yeah,
so painful. It's
yeah. I
terrible.
had the same thing. I remember after like, it hurt when they put it in, and then just having it in, it just continued to be painful, and I'm
Yeah,
looking
I've
at it, and
had
I'm
that
like,
too.
There's something wrong here," and when they finally took it out, I had a huge bruise. I don't even know if they, like,
And I mean, if it's saving your life, then fine. We'll have
Right,
that's the only access you can get. But when I have hugely, hugely
right,
expanded
yeah. I mean, these things,
garden
like
hose veins, like, mine are
right,
big anyway, let alone when I'm pregnant, my goodness. She didn't
yeah.
even have to put a tourniquet on because it's just like, bloop, you
Yeah,
know? So, I think that's a good reminder, but, yeah, I think they're getting away with crazy stuff in OB-GYN. I have, like, a cyst or something, and I've been watching it for a while, and I'm finally like, "I just wanna get rid of this, I don't wanna worry." So I
right,
said, "But for my next appointment, can you just do it under local?" And I'm like, "And can you do local, please?
yeah,
Can you do it under something, or am I gonna totally regret it?" I don't know, we'll
right,
see, but I will report back.
yeah. Yeah, it's just so interesting because I do think, they can do a lot of different things, right? Because when you have a C-section, they can give you an epidural, they can give you a tap block, right? And so you can have these things, but anesthesia is doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so I
sure.
just I just don't know what the education is in terms of during residency because I've read a lot of stuff from OBGYNs where the OB stuff is like the stuff that they like and the GYN stuff is like we
Oh,
do
for
that
sure.
because we have to.
Right.
And so it almost makes you wonder if that's sort of like, well, we just do that because that's part of the practice. It's
Mhm.
kind of like if you were a dentist that did cleanings too. You're like,
Yeah.
I do that because I do that, right?
It's
It's
my
not like I don't really
maintenance, I
enjoy
have
it.
to. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
But I still, even as a dentist, I still think that I wouldn't be able to tolerate creating that much pain, knowing that I had a modality to decrease that pain and to make it more
Yeah.
comfortable. So I don't really get it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just think it's another example of how we don't value women in our society, and part of that is OB care is so emphasized, you learn so much, but then the gyne care, the postmenopausal care, all of that is not valued. Once you're not fertile anymore, you don't matter to us as society, so we're just gonna, like, dump you out. So we don't care about teaching people.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there's a study that said something like 70% of med students only get 1 hour of training on women's health, like, outside of OB stuff or obstetrics
Right.
stuff. And that includes OB. You're like, "What the heck? How are the
Right.
women's fertility specialists so naive about this stuff?" We just don't care, and then there's no funding for
Right.
studies, and it's even worse now with the Trump DEI stuff. I've heard, like, after talking to Argavon, who we've had on the podcast, if it says women, the word women in the study at all, the study gets thrown out, and it could just be men and women were in the study. Okay, so we don't
Right. Oh,
the
man,
women's
no.
health, sector and I think the national health basically is getting wiped away. It's so frustrating. And then our friend Desiree Walker, who was on before, she's getting really into the HRT women's health stuff as she's going through it herself. She's doing a lot of research and she's doing a lot of posts on that. And something she posted this week was highlighting this study for transdermal estrogen. So estrogen patches for men. For men.
Alert, there's actually a shortage of transdermal estrogen patches currently for the people that need them, women.
Right. Well, and this is for like prostate cancer in men, and they're using it for that. But this is like such a small percentage of people. And yet,
Yeah.
we won't do studies on women's estrogen hardly. We don't want to learn about that. But men, we'll spend billions of dollars on the little blue pill. Billions
Right.
of dollars. But maybe it would be worthwhile spending some money to research why your wife isn't helping you have a good enough experience that you
Yeah.
can keep it up. I don't know. There's just so many consequences, the trickle down. And as we're starting to get to that age where through
Right.
perimenopause and everything I'm going through is this perimenopause or not? Like, I don't know. And I asked my
Yeah.
doctor, and like, I don't know anything about this stuff either. And I went to the hematologist recently because I have hemochromatosis. Yay, new genetic disease for me. And as I'm getting the workup, she's asking me all these questions. And I said, well, yeah, this, but I wonder if it's perimenopause. And she said, you're too young for perimenopause. And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, yes, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, yes, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, yes, you are. Like, we were like arguing. She's younger than me, so it's not gotten much better
Right.
in recent years. And
Yeah.
it's like, why am I arguing with you? Isn't it like 50 and it's 10 years plus or minus? So, like, yeah, I very well could be. So even she doesn't know. So it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can change things for the better.
It is changing, I think, though.
It
I feel
is.
like with the menopause and all of that stuff, and I think even Rachel Rubin is hosting a series, over the next I don't remember when it starts. I think I might actually do it, about menopause and HRT and all of this stuff, right? And
Yeah,
so it's like 5 CEs and,
awesome.
yeah. And so I may end
Well,
up doing that.
my thought about it is when you take women's healthcare and delivery of babies away from the women, the midwives,
Mhm.
and then you put it in the hands of these male egotistical doctors who had the God complex of doctors probably at that time. We lost generations of wealth of knowledge on
Yeah,
child delivery and caring for women.
right.
And then when you start wedding women finally into the specialty and into the ranks, we've lived it. We're in the
Mhm,
early phases in our specialty, so we see
mhm.
it. But the good old boys club, you got to be one of the good old boys to make it.
Right.
And what they teach you, you accept it and you make
Yeah,
it yours. And so
right.
I think it's taken a couple generations of women doctors, specifically OB doctors, OB-GYN doctors, to realize I'm going through this now, and I don't think
Yeah,
I'm crazy. And look at me. All of these things are happening to me. And all this time I thought people were crazy. Like Marie Claire Haber talks about the
yeah,
whiny woman. And that was like their diagnosis, like, oh, there's another whiny woman. Or I've even
right.
thought our own specialty, like TMJ, all the things that are like mostly happen to women. It's like, we don't believe these are real because men don't have it. So it must not be. So, like, a TMJ patient, they must be crazy.
Yeah,
Vertigo patients, they must be crazy.
yeah.
Fibromyalgia patients, they're
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, think about where all these estrogen receptors are in your joints, right? And then,
Yeah, they talk about
you
frozen
know,
shoulder and all that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, it really
So,
is.
it's frustrating
It is. I think
feeling.
it's getting better. And I think the other interesting part about and I had some great OBs. I love them. That's all. And so I'll put that out there.
No, definitely. This is not really a criticism of them, it's the system. Yeah.
And so even with the midwifery as a profession having that pushing that aside in the way that they have, babies used to be born breech. Like, can it be more dangerous? It can be, but all childbirth is dangerous. I mean, all you have to do is live on a farm for a little bit to see that, right? But they were taught how to manage a breech delivery. And once it became like, oh, well, you have to go to medical school, you have to do these things because the good old boys are in charge.
Yeah.
Now they don't teach breech delivery. And
Right.
so what happens if you have, a baby that has always been head down, right? In a good position. And then when, I don't know, the water breaks or something happens and they now are
Yeah.
transverse or they're breech. Now what are you going to do? Oh, you just go convert to a C-section or what?
Yeah.
Right. And so like they just don't have all of the things in their toolbox
Right.
to be able to manage it, even though that stuff exists and it's
Right.
been taught and it's been part
Well, and
of
so
the
much of it
practice in the
is our
past.
system of liability, and it's
Mhm.
probably not worth taking on the liability or the risk if we don't have to, but, there's some other potential risks as well, so, it's also interesting to talk
Yeah.
about, think about. So, kinda pivoting a little bit, I just got back from Japan, which was amazing, and I'll say
My husband's currently in Japan. I'm
he
sure he's
is.
having a ball. Yes.
Of course he is. Of
Don't
course
worry,
he
he'll be back
is.
next week too,
He's
so
probably eating ramen
yeah,
without us.
right.
Anyway.
I'm eating what my kids left on their plates for breakfast.
Right, yum. Cold, soggy cereal. Yours is probably at least like avocado toast, but probably my favorite, or at least my most impactful experience in Japan is doing the onsen, which is the public bath.
Mhm.
So I wanted to talk about that because it's for me, it's like this spiritual experience. Is that
Yeah.
something you would do? I remember your
Yeah,
sister talked
absolutely.
about you skinny dipping. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, that's like I'm cool. I'm good with that.
So for me, the first time I did it, it was like we were in Tokyo, this is before we had kids, and we just come across this public bath right there in town. And Abe had been there, my husband, and he was like, "Do you want to do this public bath thing?" And I was like, "I don't know, maybe. What do I do?" And so you go in and there's a locker room typically, and you disrobe, and then you sit on like a little stool and you wash and clean your body at a little shower, and then you go in the bath. And a lot of times they're like hot springs, but maybe not this one in Tokyo. I'm not, probably not. But for me, it was like terrifying that idea of like disrobing for the first time in
But it's all
public.
women, right? It was all
It
women.
was, yeah,
Okay.
it was definitely women, but still. And then part of it's scary too, because 'cause I'm like, I don't speak the language, I don't 100% know what I'm supposed to do, so I'm trying to, like, kinda see what people are doing, but also not trying to watch
Right.
naked people, like, trying to respect their privacy, but also respect the culture.
Yeah.
But I remember being so afraid and was finally like, "Okay, take it off," and then it's like the second I did, it didn't matter anymore and it was fine, and I just thought, "Wow." And for me, that was really powerful because for so many reasons. Some of it I think is the culture. Our culture is so bizarre. There's this, like,
Yes.
hypersexualization of bodies, and on one end, we're seeing Victoria Secret model, chesty, mostly naked women on giant billboards and on the
Yeah.
side of buildings, and then on the same end, it's like you couldn't possibly go to a bath and take a bath naked where people could see you. So immoral, so immodest, so
Yeah.
inappropriate, so gross, so scary. So that dichotomy is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And to just show up
Stressful.
and to be there just as a body and no one's looking at you and no one
Nobody
cares.
cares. Yeah.
When I'm swimming, I feel like everyone's, like, looking at everyone's bodies like, "Oh, look at her in that bikini," and, "Oh, how's that swimming suit?" But here,
Yeah.
no one cares, and so it was like
Right.
no one was trying to sell me anything. No one was judging or
Yeah.
looking at my body. My
Yeah.
body was just a body, and bodies are beautiful, and they deserve to be taken care of and enjoy this, like, relaxing, ritualistic experience of cleansing your body and just dipping your soul into these healing waters, and I loved it so,
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. I love that. I would love to go sometime if I ever get a chance to go to Japan. Just once, anytime.
My number one. It's my number one, and my daughters, I've done it with them a few times, and my older daughter is like, they were
Yeah.
at first were like, "No, we don't want to," and luckily the first time we went, there was no one there, so it was fine, and then by the time someone walked in, it's kinda like, "Oh, well," but the other part of it for me, when I was a child, I had this traumatic experience where we went to
Oh,
visit a
yeah.
kid, and we've talked about this before. Went to visit a friend and she wasn't there, and so her brother took us inside and made us take a bath, and we took baths with, like, babysitters. I mean, kids, it's not
Yeah.
uncommon, but it was different. I could tell this wasn't okay. We really didn't want to, and he took turns holding our heads under the water, and some other things happened, and so I've had this, like, deep-seated fear of being, like, watched, and
Mm.
my biggest fear would be, like, a homeless person living in my attic and, like, sneaking down at night. And then they have videos of people where that, like, actually happens. Is like,
God.
terrifying, so that's my biggest fear, and I have dreams at night that people are watching me and they can see me somehow through the walls, through my bedding, through my pajamas, and see me naked, and so me showing up purposely naked in front of people is like this super healing spiritual
Mhm. Like lifting the
experience, kind of
veil,
like
sort of. Yeah.
taking back my power,
Yeah.
so
I can see that.
maybe other people wouldn't enjoy as much as I did. Now, if we were in Japan together, it would be like a little bit of like, "Okay, am I going to go get naked in front of a friend?" Maybe that would be kinda weird, but I think I would again, it would be that, "1, 2, 3, okay, go."
Yeah. Well,
I would
clearly
do
you
it.
weren't there getting ready with us at the at Miraval. It's like Kelsey and I are just getting ready like naked, and Beth walks in, Katie walks in. I'm like, sorry, I'm naked.
Alright, well, you're better than me, but I
No,
think I think it would be like a deep breath moment, and then it'd be fine again, but yeah.
it is. Our society, I think, really makes for very strange dichotomies, very strange, like ways of
Yeah,
looking
it's
at things and thinking of
nonsensical.
things.
It
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. It's like, don't talk about sex, but you need to know all about it to be safe about it. But you're not supposed to talk about it or know anything about it until it's time. Then you're supposed to know everything and be comfortable with that. And
Be really good at it. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, but don't talk about it. So weird. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so
All right.
weird. Well, I wanna talk about this Maxim competition.
All right.
It's kind of the same timeline or kind of the same idea. So, if you haven't seen my stories, I'm talking about it a lot. My friend Janelle, who I knew in residency, was a neurosurgery resident. She ended up leaving residency and had this crazy pivot where she ended up doing modeling and acting, and she ended up winning this, like, popular vote Maxim magazine contest and is a Maxim cover girl. And so now I'm seeing these advertisements with Janelle, like, "Join this Maxim competition," and I saw they're doing one for people over 40, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I wanna join this competition just to show Janelle, like, 'Hey, I
Yeah.
joined your competition.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like you.'" And I started filling it out, and then I got to the point where it was like, "Upload pictures," and it said, like, "Upload your modeling photos," and I was like, "That's what this is? Is this, like, really a modeling thing? No, mm-mm." So I left it half filled out, not even knowing if I had actually submitted, and so then it's, like, weeks later, and I keep getting these texts like, "Congrats," and I'm not reading them, it's from Maxim magazine, I'm
Right.
like, "Oh," and then finally I read it, and it's like, "You won this round, you won the top 30, you won the top 20," like, I don't know how many rounds I won before I even realized, and so finally it's like, "Well, if I'm winning all these rounds without trying, maybe I should just ask a few friends to vote for me," and here I am in the quarterfinals,
I love it.
and then I thought, "Oh, the quarterfinals is gonna be terrible 'cause I'm asking, like, Google, 'How many people are in this
Mhm.
competition?'" And it's like, there's probably gonna be, like, 50. There's only 5 in this round, so I have to win first to win the round, but I'm sitting in first right now,
There you
so
go.
if anyone wants to
Hold
vote for
on.
me, we could
Clicking
drop
in
the
right
link,
now to
but I think it's so funny because it's just I am not like the typical person I
But don't you
imagine
love
being
that?
in Maxim magazine. Well, that's kinda why I'm like, if I can win this,
Yeah.
that's why it would be really cool, right? To, like, show the world, to show the Maxim community what a 40-something Mormon mommy surgeon can be.
Yeah.
So now it feels like maybe it could happen. I don't know. So there's an interview round, and I'm like, if I can get there, I think I'm gonna like have a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
So vote for
I love
me
that.
every single
Yeah.
day.
So when you did these pictures that looked like you're on the magazine cover,
Uh-huh.
how'd you do that?
AI.
That's what I thought. I'm like,
I know. I was like, let's visualize what it would look like if I won. And it looks
those are
really
great,
cool. And I look very gorgeous. Thank you, AI.
you know,
But
does kinda
that's
look
my
like sometimes.
story. It
I love
was
that.
kind of an accident, but I don't know. Let's show the world what we can do
That's right.
over 40.
You can't win if you don't try.
No, you never win a contest you don't enter. So I don't know. I have no idea if I have a chance, but we're just, manifesting this round. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
did notice the other pictures, a lot of the other pictures are women in their modeling photos or like the typical modeling photos. Speaking of hypersexualization and like, how can
Yeah,
I
I
get,
know.
how can I get more votes? Oh, I can show more skin and I can
Yeah.
all of this stuff. And you're like, still, we're
And
doing
mine
that?
are, like, literally selfies. I know it's, like, all of them are, like, my arm bent. I'm either, like, flexing or doing, like, a peace sign or, like, I don't know. I was like, well, taking a picture, a selfie. So I clearly didn't try very hard in my photos, but I don't know. That's what's fun about it, I think.
Yeah,
So, yeah, for sure. So vote for me.
I love
I'm
that.
probably getting annoying asking people to vote for me as much as I am, but I just really need the
I
support.
actually need the reminder. So thanks. I just actually voted while we were just talking about it
Me
because,
too, thanks. If you're listening, vote in the afternoon or the evening because it's often double points, and, like, if I voted the wrong time, then I'm like, "Dang it, I missed it."
I
So,
see.
yeah.
There you go.
So there you
That's how they get
go.
you.
Let's win this thing.
Let's win it.
Let's win it. Here we go.
Yeah. I do think it's funny that they're like, "Hey, do this extra vote for something radiance something," and then there's like a $2,000 donation to something, and I'm like,
Interesting.
yesterday, that's what it was. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know, you can, like, pay to play. You could buy magazines and it gets you more votes. And I haven't done that. I posted on some dental forum like, "Hey, this is funny, vote for me." And someone was like, "These are scams. These are pay to play things." And I felt kind of embarrassed. And I was like, "Well, I haven't paid to play and I've still
Yeah.
won." And my friend won this thing. And I'm not trying to be a model. I'm not trying
Right.
to jumpstart any kind of modeling career. So if that were me and you're preying on poor up and coming models to pay money, maybe, but I'm just here.
Yeah.
And
I'm here to
maybe
say
if
I'm
I
not
s
gonna buy any Maxim magazines unless you're actually on the cover, so
right. But if anyone does want to, if you're a Maxim fan, just wait till their double magazine points days. And I've got a few more rounds to go. So I'm kind of like saving that if I need to spend, $20 to buy myself some boats, maybe I will, but I'm still holding out.
love it.
All right.
Alright. Well, I gotta go pick up the kids.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Resting Stitch Face podcast. As always, like, follow, and share. And go give me a vote. Check out the link in the show notes, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.